What's up, my YouTube people? It's Joey Bags. Today's video is actually, for real, going to be a short one. I had a question that was asked to me about Dirt Rally 2 and the Cammus C5. So, here we are in Dirt 2. Let's get into this here. So, we're in Dirt Rally 2 here. And I'm using the Cammus C5 and the PXM pedals. So if we go into options, we go into input, you can see here that the game, or the sim, or whatever, Dirt Rally 2, has already detected all the connected devices, as you can see here. So it's seeing the Cammus C5 steering wheel. Remember, as I explained in another, actually my last video that not the last video, but the one before, you know what, one of those videos. The way the Cammus software, and I guess PC and, you know, some of the games see, some of the sims see the C5 wheel, it sees the wheelbase, which is the hub inside of the wheel, and the button box, which is on the face, that's connected to the actual steering wheel, as two separate devices. Even though they're one unit in front of you, it sees it as two separate devices. So in the Cammus software, when you open it up, if you're only seeing the wheel and not the actual direct drive, the C5 direct drive, then you may be having an issue and an error. What I usually do is, if that does happen, I turn it off, turn it back on. The most I've had to do it is 2 times. I've turned it off, turned it back on twice, and on that second time it's initialized and seen both parts. So if your software isn't seeing it, or you're only seeing one or the other and not both, then that could be your issue. You know what? Let's go in and we'll go in real quick so I can show you what I'm talking about. Let's go. Oh, let's see. No. There we go. And boom. And boom. There we go. So here we go. So this is what I mean. So when you're in there, or when you've started everything up, it should see, the Cammus software should see both the C5 steering wheel, which is the wheel, and the button box, and it sees the wheelbase, the motor, separately. So you've got two devices that should be showing up in your main tab here. If you go to parameter, it should only show your C5 wheelbase. And this is where you control all of the force feedback settings. Everything is going to be in here. If you go to devices, this is where it actually shows the wheel portion, and this is where you can control how do you want your knobs to, your encoders to show up. Do you want them to be left, right, 2 key, or do you want it to be a 12 button, a 12 key rotational? How you set up your LED indicators, the brightness of that, whether you want this little display here to show speed in kilometers per hour, miles per hour, if you want to show you the gear. Then the update tab, that's pretty self-explanatory, that's just the update. So if your software, if your Cammus software isn't showing you 2 items here, then I would just recommend you turn it off, turn it back on. Now let's get back into the sim here. So as you can see, Dirt Rally 2 is showing all the connected devices. So it's showing my pedals, my PDHM pedals from PXN. It's showing my A7 shifter from PXN. It's showing my Cammus wheelbase, which is the actual motor, and then the C5 steering wheel, which is the wheel with the buttons. Now let's go into here so I can show you a little bit more in depth. So it's seeing the steering wheel as joystick. When you go in, here is where you'll set your bindings, your input bindings. So as you can see here for the C5 steering wheel, I have nothing bound except to change my camera my pause, recover, gear up and gear down because I do use the paddles, and the shifter to shift. I use both. I currently don't have the PXN handbrake connected. I unplugged it because I was doing something else. If I were to plug it, that would be a whole separate device that would be plugged in. Let's say you wanted to use paddles. Now, let's say you had another wheel, or you just want to, instead of using the paddles on here as a shifter, you want to use them as a handbrake or something. You can go ahead and, bind that here. But as you can see, all the bindings that I have here are really just button binds for the button box here. So that's what I've got there. Now if we go back and I go to the wheelbase, now the wheelbase is where I have my left and right binded to. And I have nothing else here bound because that's the only thing I need bound to the wheelbase. It's just left and right. Now we'll go back. My A7 gear shift. I've got nothing here bound except my gear up and gear down. Those are the only two things I need my gear shift to do. Now my gear shift does have, my shifter does have 2 additional buttons that I could bind to something else. If I wanted to, I could do a look left or right or a seat adjustment or something. I can bind it to any of these, but I really don't need to, so that is what it is. And my PDHM pedals. All I have is accelerate and brake reverse. That's what I have bound here. I could probably also, if I wanted to, just, set reverse separate so it's not kind of like bound to the brake pedal, but that's really neither here nor there. It's not a big deal. Advanced settings are just, well, at least for the pedals, this is where you control your total saturation and your dead zone, which for your pedals, you'll want your dead zone. Optimally, you want it at 0. I mean, if you're one of those people that kind of likes to, just rest your feet on the pedals, and if it happens, to actually depress and, cause actual contact when you're just resting it, then this is where you may want to set a dead zone to like maybe 5% or so, depending on how hard you rest your foot on your pedals. I don't, so I have it set to 0. That's really going to be for everything else. The shifter, you don't need to set it, a dead zone for the wheelbase. Here is where you can do something similar. Steering saturation, I have it set to 100. If you made it any lower, it would be essentially like changing the degrees in which your wheel turns. And if you've already got it set in your software to like 900, which tends to be default for most games, in most sims, here you could just leave it as is. Steering linearity, I'm not exactly sure what that one does, but I do have it set at 0, and that was default. And really, soft lock, calibration required. I'm not going to sit here. It's on. There's really no need. The wheelbase is doing that for itself. For the wheel as in buttons, there's nothing really that requires any of this, so, and like vibration, it doesn't really require any of that, so we're good to go. With the wheelbase, vibration and feedback I do have set to on, and this is all stock, or should I say this is all default settings. I haven't changed anything here, as I haven't changed anything in my software, in my wheel software. Other than that, that's exactly how the input settings show. It's going to show your connected devices, and then everything is shown here. Now, if you have something plugged in and it's not showing, then you may want to unplug, plug it back in, or go ahead, follow some of these little tabs here. Maybe you need to edit something, like the pedals. I have, so device type, I went ahead and I set it to pedals. Wheel, has a default to joystick. Let's see, the wheelbase, does that have... It's defaulted to steering wheel. I can't change that. The shifter set to shifter, and if I had the handbrake on, it would give me the option for handbrake. Honestly, that's pretty much about all the settings that you really have to change other than game settings and graphical settings. Now we'll go back and we'll just continue. Well, you know what? Let me... Okay, I'm changing the view and my car is smoking. So let me go ahead and restart. So I'm starting with a fresh vehicle, and I'm hitting my accelerator, and here we go. I don't have my phone recording the wheel at the moment, just because I didn't set it up, and quite honestly, you've seen that view a bunch of times. Once you're set up, and I do have it set to automatic shifting, it's just, it works. What it really comes down to is making sure that your settings are correct, that there is capturing. Ooh, the force feedback on this wheel is just so awesome. I have it set to 85%, and in this, I don't know, is this a game or is this a sim? Let's put down in the comment section what we think Dirt Rally 2 is. Do we consider this a game, or do we consider this a sim? The force feedback in this is great. It feels awesome. Maybe I should have hooked up my handbrake. And with everything correctly inputted, or should I say with the system detecting the wheel, and everything correctly bound, all the inputs correctly bound, it's working as you would expect it to. Let's see, let's hit that jump. I really like that jump. That jump is super fun. And with that, guys, I am going to leave you on this episode of We're Gonna Get Things Working in a Sim. Can I keep doing donuts? So yeah, like I said, ooh, and I will leave you with the end of this episode of Getting Things Working with Joey Bags in Dirt Rally 2. If you have any questions or comments or anything, of course, as usual, leave them down in the comment section. I'll try to answer them as quickly as I can. Once again, the Cammus C5 is awesome. It's a great wheel, and as you see, it just works across, you know, a multitude of different sims so easily. As usual, hit that thumbs up, sub, hit that notification bell, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.